Hello and welcome. In this episode we're looking at the history of Crosville Motor Services. It operated in North West England and North and Mid Wales. In addition to serving many towns and rural areas, it also served the big city of Liverpool. And the company was based in Chester. The name of the company, Crosville, is a combination of the names Crosland Taylor and Georgesville. Crosland Taylor set up the Crosville Motor Company to import and assemble cars supplied from France by Georgesville. However, this was not a success and only 5 Crosville cars were sold, and in 1911 the company branched out into bus operation between Chester and Ellesmere Port. Before the outbreak of World War I, Crosville was serving Crewe, Nantwich and Sandbach. After World War I, expansion saw Crosville buses reaching Birkenhead, Liverpool, Warrington and Widnes. In 1929, the London, Midland and Scottish Railway purchased the company and renamed it LMS Crosville. In 1930, Tilling British Automobile Traction acquired a half share and the company then became Crosville Motor Services Limited. At the same time, 3 other LMS subsidiaries in the area, including the 89 vehicle White Rose fleet, were incorporated into the Crosville Company. At the same time, the British Electric Traction's Wrexham and District Transport Company Limited was merged with some GWR Great Western Railway bus services in the Western Transport Company Limited, which became a Tilling British Automobile Traction subsidiary with Great Western Railway involvement. Western Transport was absorbed by Crosville in 1933, thus introducing a Great Western Railway shareholding. Crosville came under Tilling control in 1942 and 2 years later Tilling Green livery replaced the Crosville Maroon livery, which had its origins with the London, Midland and Scottish Railway. By the 1960s, the company was standardised on Bristol Eastern Coachworks vehicles, and it was a company that had many sides to it. There were the rural services that operated in places like Wales. Then you had the urban services that operated in places like Wrexham, Chester and Merseyside. And then there was the Holiday Coast in North Wales, which had its own open-top leisure services. Crosville also operated coaches, and many of these were used on the seasonal services to Rhyl, Llandudno and Prestatyn, as well as regular express services to other parts of the country such as London. In their heyday, Crosville coaches could be seen countrywide. On the 1st of January 1969, Crosville passed into the hands of the National Bus Company, who unveiled their corporate identity, and Crosville's new corporate identity was to be National Bus Company Leaf Green. As part of the National Bus Company, Crosville also took in a lot of Leyland nationals. Later, this included the much simplified and cheaper Leyland National B Series for its rural operations. 1972 was to be a year of change for Crosville, when it took 127 vehicles over with the Cheshire operations of the North Western Road Car Company, following the purchase of the bulk of the North Western business by the Selneck Pte. Crosville also expanded westward with the transfer from South Wales Transport of a group of former Western Welsh services in Ammanford and Carmarthen. And before the National Bus Company clamped its corporate look right down, Crosville were using this bold yellow fleet name on their buses. However, this was soon replaced by the standard National Bus Company white fleet name. Upon the formation of Merseyside Pte, Crosville still maintained a presence in the Liverpool and the Wirral areas, with some of the buses even carrying the Merseyside Pte logo that operated in this area. Despite these urban operations, the company was predominantly rural and was making quite a loss with its revenue. In 1980, allegedly that figure was £1 million, but by 1982 it had grown to £2 million. In 1987 there was further financial hardship when the company was hit by a strike at the Liverpool depot. This strike had been caused by the unfair sacking of a driver who'd refused to drive a bus that was not fitted with power steering. These older buses had been drafted in due to the company winning a number of tendered routes in the area. But the agreement was that the buses couldn't be used in all-day service. So when a driver was allocated one and it was felt it was a breach of these terms, the driver refused to drive the bus. This resulted in the driver being sacked and was the start of the industrial action. And this ultimately led to the closure of the Liverpool operations, and those tendered routes that the company had won passed to other operators, including Merseyside PTE. Around this time, the company was split in two. As with the approach of deregulation and the big bus company sell-off, it was felt that Crosville was too big to be sold as one company. These two smaller companies formed were Crosville Wales and Crosville, and it just basically split the Welsh operations from the English operations. Crosville was one of the last National Bus Company subsidiaries to be sold on the 25th of March 1988, and the English operations passed to the short-lived ATL Group, who then passed it on to the Drawline Group a year later, with the company being split up even more and divided between the then sister companies of Midland Red North and the newly formed company of North Western Road Car Company. Or maybe that should be the newly reformed company, North Western, as the original one had been hung, drawn and quartered on the formation of Selneck in the early 1970s. This, as I mentioned earlier, had ironically gained the original Crosville an increase in their operating area. As history has shown us, the Drawline Group was restructured into British Bus, which was sold to Cowie and then eventually became Arriva. This particular little part of the jigsaw becoming Arriva North West and Wales. The remaining bits of Crosville that were around the Wirral and Chester were sold to Potteries Motor Traction in February 1990, who initially kept the Crosville name going. Potteries was sold to Badgerline in 1995, who then went on to form First Bus with Grampian Regional Transport, and the former Crosville depots of Chester, Rock Ferry and Ellesmere Port found themselves in first ownership, becoming First Chester and the Wirral. In November 2012, this was sold on to Stagecoach and included 110 vehicles and 290 staff. The area is now operated as Stagecoach in Chester and Wirral. The Welsh operations of Crosville were to remain largely intact. And yes, I know this is an old picture, but who could resist using one of a Bristol RE in such lovely countryside? Crosville Wales was originally sold to a management buyout. However, in 1989 it was sold to National Express. But this too proved to be short-lived, and like a hot potato it was quickly passed on 2 years later to British Bus. In 1996 British Bus itself was purchased by the Cowie Group, which, as we know, became Arriva. And this completes the story of the once great Crosville empire. Although there was a Crosville Motor Services registered a few years ago that was operating out of Weston-super-Mare, and the name is still actually registered at Company's House. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this potted history of Crosville Motor Services. If you did, please like and share this video. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, as it just also helps the channel grow, and you'll receive notifications of when I release further videos in this series. And speaking of which, don't forget to check out my other videos on my channel. There's plenty of videos on there which will appeal to bus enthusiasts of good taste like yourself on those wet weather days that we get in the summertime. I hope you enjoy looking through them, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care. Bye bye for now.